Welcome everybody to a special edition of Snack on That. My name's Chris Edwards and this is
Gavin Kibble.
And Gav, noticeably we're walking today.
Yes, well I've just completed the coast-to-coast walk from St Bees Head in Cumbria across to Robin Hood's Bay in Yorkshire.
Wow, and is that a lot? Is it a 5-mile walk, a 10-mile walk? What is it?
Oh, I wish, Chris. It's over 200 miles depending on what routes you particularly take, and it takes about 13 days. But when we say 200 miles, Chris, it belies the fact that there is a lot of ups and downs. In fact, you cover the ups equivalent to Everest and the downs are the same amount.
Goodness me. So why on earth would you bother doing that, Gav?
I think there were 3 reasons for this, Chris. Perhaps the primary one was that we received an email at the start of this year from one of the projects that we support out in Zambia, which is a school for orphans. The Zambia had a particular problem with the AIDS pandemic back in the late 90s, left a generation without parents. And so this school now has 400 children where it's only built for 200. And this request came to be able to expand the school and the school facilities to be able to cope with the number of kids in the school. So that was the first reason.
Fantastic.
There's
more?
There's more. Well, the second reason was I turned 60 in February, and it was just one of those life challenges that really came off the back of having had a heart attack 2 years ago. And feeling that I needed to do some things before I die. Yeah. That sounds a bit final, but there's a whole list of challenges that my wife and I have talked about, but this was high up my list of things to try and do. I think none of that really prepared me for just how gruelling and tough a walk this was, Chris. And you know, even within the first 3 days, I was beginning to question whether rationale and reason had departed me and I had entered the world of stupidness in trying to walk something that is as gruelling and tough as the coast-to-coast walk.
So let's stop a moment. The first 3 days then. So something happened after the 3 days. What was that, Gav?
So the first 3 days of the Lake District, and something about the guy who invented the coast-to-coast walk is Alfred Wainwright.
Okay.
I'm not sure Alfred Wainwright had a great deal of sense when he devised these walks and decided to put things into the walk which were there more because they give you vistas or views, or because you're going up things. And even the book that I got on the coast-to-coast walk doesn't really give you an indication of just how brutal some of these walks can be. So going from Borrowdale across to Grasmere was day 3, and that walk includes going up to a place called Lining Crag. It's a rise of about 1,500, 1,600 feet, so it's quite a lot with a 9-kilo pack on your back and all the rest of it. And by this point, we're not talking about walking on ground like this, we're talking about walking on stony paths.
Wow. Okay.
When you get up to Lining Crag, the path runs out and you're scrabbling up rock faces to do it.
Me.
By the time I got to the top...
on all fours?
Yeah, basically on all fours,
okay.
yeah. And not for the first time, because we had a similar thing around Ennerdale Water. But we got up there, and by this point, my left foot is torn to shreds. I've got a blood blister and a deep, deep bruise on it, and I'm hobbling.
Okay.
And so it really became a moment where I'm thinking, this is too much pain. I was really fortunate because we had agreed to meet a couple that are old friends of mine, and I'm invested in a charity in Parbowl that does post-traumatic stress disorder therapy with blue light and armed service people using horses.
Wow.
Equestrian therapy. It's a lovely charity. The lady who runs it is Carrie Byram. What I hadn't realised was her husband, who came with her, Tim. He had been in the armed services, but now he's a paramedic.
Oh, okay, amazing.
And so he was able to look at the foot in Grasmere, and you can see the pictures. We'll put them up on this podcast of the foot. And he was able to say, actually, the way we treat this is we'll pad it out, but you've got to chew paracetamol for the next few days.
So your paramedic saved you?
He did. He saved
the walk?
He did, because Grasmere, I was about ready to chuck it in. I just couldn't walk on the left leg. That and a whole load of people back in Coventry who were praying for me to get beyond that point.
Fantastic. So day 4 you woke up and
day 4, well, it wasn't completely gone, but it was a whole lot better. Day 4 was on paper a gentle day, but it wasn't, because we went from Grasmere to Patterdale. We went over a place called St Sunday Crag, which is about 100 feet below Helvellyn.
Sunday Crag, so it's high up
high up, 2,500 feet up, about 100 feet below Helvellyn.
What could you see?
Oh, you've got these fantastic views over Ullswater. So from day 3, which was a catastrophe, to day 4, which was an absolute highlight of the whole thing, standing there in the early June sunshine, staring out over Ullswater was a real high point of the whole journey. Yeah.
So you're on Sunday Crag, Gav.
Yeah.
And obviously thoughts go to perhaps why you're doing it. I mean, tell us a little bit more about that email and the impact that had on you to want to do this.
Bit of a driving force, really, because we needed to raise, I don't know, between 40 and 60,000 pounds. Ideally, the appeal was to build a second school, effectively an extension to the school of the same size.
Okay.
If you look at pictures of the school, you'll see kids are being educated outside in the sunshine because there's not enough spaces for them in the classrooms.
Yeah.
And that money, we had a lot of that money already pledged or donated by the time we got there. So it's a huge incentive to get on and complete the walk.
So the Sunday Crag moment was a, yes, I know why I'm doing it. I've been fixed up. I think I'm good to go, was it?
Yeah, it's a mental moment, isn't it? Where having got through day 3, you actually then believe, I could actually do this thing.
So what kept you going? What kept you going over the next days?
I think primarily I was very fortunate that for most days that we were walking, we had people walking with us. So Rich Smith from Feed the Hungry walked with me on the first 3 days, was a great encouragement. Another Richard Smith, who's one of our volunteers at the Halo Centre, he joined me on the St Sunday Crag walk.
Excellent.
And then Rich came back for the 5th or 6th day, I think it was, and then I had crowds and my wife joined me, and we had 6 people walking down through the Yorkshire Dales on the bank holiday weekend.
And I heard a rumour there was singing.
Singing to cows, yes.
Okay, and what were you singing?
I did Moving On Up. It's the only thing you could sing. So on that day, that was the Saturday of the bank holiday weekend.
Yeah.
We were walking down from a place called Muka to Reeth. It's in Swaledale.
Yeah.
One of our numbers was particularly frightened of cows. These were only baby cows at the end of the day.
Okay.
But I'd heard somewhere that cows like people singing to them.
Right.
So I decided that to take the cows away from the woman who was a little bit frightened of cows, so she could get out the field behind them, I would sing to the cows.
So you're a Pied Piper of cows?
Yeah, and they loved it. In fact, you can see on the video clip that their heads are jogging up and down to the rhythm of this thing.
Nice.
So it's good. Time to break free. Nothing can stop us.
And I heard that there was something about a marriage on...
Oh, this is just one of those bizarre days. You know, you're walking down there and you see a guy dressed up to the nines.
Okay.
And he's carrying, and it looks like he's dragging a suitcase. Well, he wasn't. He was dragging chairs behind him.
Right.
And I said, what's going on? He said, I'm getting married. And I said, well, where's the bride? And he said, she's down there. So we walked on a bit. Quarter of a mile later, there's this bride, full wedding dress. And then she hitched it up and she's wearing walking boots underneath. And bridesmaids and all the rest of the party.
Wow, that's
getting
incredible.
married up on the fells. It's fabulous.
Incredible. Now, one of the things that people say about the coast to coast walk is you have to take something from St Bees Head.
Yes.
All the way to St Robin Hood's Bay. What's that about?
So it's a tradition that you take a stone from St Bees Head, the beach there, and you transport it all the way across the 200 miles and you throw it into the bay at Robin Hood's Bay.
So did you do that?
I have Tony the Stony, and he was taken across.
Excellent.
And he was lobbed in the sea at the end of it.
So in all this, it sounds like a fantastic journey, unbelievable, response from people wanting to walk with you, wanting to engage with you. You met people along the way, you're singing to cows, you see a wedding. You met the Yorkshire vet, is that right?
No, not the Yorkshire vet. No. So the Yorkshire Shepherdess.
Yorkshire Shepherdess.
So I think many people listening to this podcast will be familiar that Channel 5 ran a series over a number of years looking at Britain's, I'm not sure if it's Britain or England's highest farm, Ravenseat. It's just above Keld. And this family, husband, wife, 9 children.
Oh my goodness.
And they're fell farmers. So, sheep are all over the place, massive farm, all over some fabulous country. But I turned up at Ravenseat around lunchtime on the walk. Nobody around, sat down at one of their benches to have lunch. And she came over with a horse and started talking to me about what I was doing. I was fascinated by the whole trip.
So What was her fascination? Why should we be fascinated by this whole
Well, it's
trip?
unusual. I think most people do the coast to coast because it's a personal challenge.
Yeah.
I didn't meet many people doing this walk who were doing it because they were raising funds for something as well as a personal challenge.
Right.
And so this was interesting to her it was different from the standard thing. Again, we met a lot of Americans, a lot of Canadians who come over and do the walk, but they do it as part of a package, a holiday, you know, and this was not being done for that reason.
Here's the big question, Gav. You're raising money. How much have you raised so far for this school in Zambia?
So we're just north of £26,000 at the moment.
That's incredible.
That is incredible. That gets us the building.
Wow.
And it gets us part way to kitting out the building as well. It doesn't get us the whole way. We need a little bit more than that. We definitely need to be north of 30,000 to be able to cover this.
And have we heard of what's been done so far?
So from Gwyn, he was out there with the team. They've put the spade in, they've dug the footings.
Great.
They've purchased fence to isolate the area.
Yeah.
And they'll be getting going fairly quickly. I'm hoping to get out there with my wife in March, April of next year, around Easter time, to go and see what's been built.
So how does all this money and fundraising for what's happening in Zambia link to us back here in the UK at the Halo Centre?
Well, primarily what Feed the Hungry has been doing through this warehouse and through other offices around the world is providing meals like this, which are basically rice and soy meals. Actually, in each one of these boxes is sufficient food to feed 216 children, give them one meal each. But that's what we do. And so Zambia is just the same. Our school in Mazabuku receives rice meals of this type. But you know, that's one thing. It keeps a child in education, but we also need to provide them with the education. So we're looking for a more holistic approach to the way that we're supporting communities like Mazabuka to be able to get out of poverty. And keeping a child in education until they're in their high teens improves their life chances, improves the chances for the community, and has a massive impact on the country as well. So Chris, one amongst us isn't here today. Who's that?
That's Gwyn. Gwyn is abroad at the moment. He's touring 3 countries, Zimbabwe, Zambia and South Africa. And he's developing relationships, understanding the needs and following up on what we're sending out there already, which comes from here. You can see some of these things are gathering to prepare us to do some rice meal packing, whether it's here in this location or externally. And what we'll do is we'll send those out in a container. And he's actually seen and will see containers arriving in the location, which is brilliant. He's also developing relationships with local people to understand what the sustainable economies aspect of how we can support from here in the UK.
What does that look like?
Well, what does that look like? It could be farming, it could be some local manufacturing, it could be helping with boreholes to increase water supply, to sustain what is going on there, irrigation systems and such, which means that when you raise money, as you have done for Zambia, through the school, you've got a school, maybe we've got a borehole that we've dug as well, maybe we've got food rice packing that's gone out to me, and so we've got a holistic approach, which means that we can transform the lives of those people in Zambia. So Gav, in relation to Zambia, as I've just been talking about, where does it end with Coast to Coast in terms of the fundraising that we've been doing?
Well, the fabulous thing is that £20,000 gets us a building.
Great.
It gets us a building, but we need a building that's kitted out.
Right.
£6,000 more, we're at 26 at the moment, gets us part of the kit out. We need a bit more than that.
Yeah.
We probably need to be around £35,000 to properly kit the school out and give it some IT facilities as well. So the fundraising will carry on towards the end of July. The location for that is feedthehungry.org.uk/coast to coast, and we can still match fund with our private donor. So every £1 that is given will be matched by another £1, and gift aid can be recovered as well. So please,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, keep
so
giving.
This has been a special edition of Snack on That. I hope you've enjoyed what we've been learning about and talking about today. And don't forget, if you've got some funding and you want to give, do so with what Gav's just told you.